What's everybody doing? Well, I'm going to tap into Proverbs 2 now. And I was into Proverbs 1, and I was only trying to do a couple videos on Proverbs 1, but once you get into the words, it just keeps going on and on and on. So I'm going to try to tap into Proverbs 2. What we've been talking about is how to really be focused on the things of life that are good, not the things that are bringing you down, not wearing you out. You know, when you're stressed out all the time, you got to kind of step back for a second and kind of look at what you're stressed out about. You have to kind of write your ideas about that stuff down, like figure it out. For instance, if you do like a business plan, you don't want to just all of a sudden just jump into something. You want to count the cost of what that business plan is before you just start investing money. And so in yourself, the same thing is, it's all about that. You have to look at yourself and see, okay, what causes me to be triggered? What causes me to always have stress? What causes me to always be down? Excuse me. What causes me to always be in a ruckus? Like me, for instance, I don't really have anxiety, but I'm very anxious when I'm driving on the road. And so when somebody gets in front of me, that aggravates me to the core. It like just drives me nuts, especially some slow driver that pops out in front of me. And all of a sudden, you know, they think they're like a superhero or something. They pull out in front of me and like, what were you thinking? I could have run your butt over, you know? And so I just get sick of people like that. That's one of my things that makes me tick. And so I have to examine myself. So what I do a lot of times when I'm faced in situations, I have to tell myself at that moment, chill out, because I could have some pretty good road rage. But anyways, getting into Proverbs 2, I want you to understand, going through Proverbs 1 is what we did, but going to Proverbs 2, there's a little bit difference in this compared to Proverbs 1, and it's just talking about mainly about the wisdom of what God wants to give you in your life. And so you can't necessarily have the wisdom of God if you're obviously not a Christian, if you don't believe there's a God. And that's why I kind of like to help you along. And if you don't believe there's a God, this is still some good stuff to really help you kind of get around the ideas of the life that you've had where you've been stressed out and when you've been worried. So even if you use wisdom from other people, counsel, you know, guidance, whatever, go see a counselor, whatever the situation is, don't ever be afraid to ask somebody for help. I think a lot of people that are in depression and oppression and stuff like that, they just end up hiding themselves away. They lock themselves up in a room and they never see any hope. So then they never have any hope. Then the suicidal thoughts come. Before you know it, they're committing suicide. And not only do they devastate themselves, of course, but their whole family. And so don't let yourself get to that point. Get out of the bed, start doing something for yourself, start being focused on what you're all about, and really come up with that business plan in your life. Figure out what you want to do with yourself. And like I said before, you don't necessarily, if you had you lost a job, your family member died of COVID, whatever the situation is, you know, your kids aren't acting up. Believe me, I have a 16-year-old kid. They're teenagers. They're going to act up. Don't take it all personal. Let's start focusing on what we can do with our own lives and what we can start doing in our own self, and invest in ourselves is the key to this, okay? So anyways, tapping into Proverbs 2, it says, my son, if thou wilt receive my words and hide my commandments with thee. Automatically, that right there should tell you everything about this whole Bible. My son, if thou wilt receive my words and hide my commandments with thee. What's he saying? When you dive into the word, he wants you to hide that stuff within you. Why does he want you to have that stuff hidden within you? Because when you have that stuff hidden within inside of you, what comes out? What's inside of you, right? So if you have negative thoughts all the time of the bad situations coming, you could see the house burning down. You could see you losing your house. You could see the car, you know, the engine blowing, whatever. And so when you have those negative thoughts, what do you usually have? What comes out of you? So if you start putting things that are positive into you, and that's what I think I've done in my life, is I don't really listen to negative. I can be negative sometimes. I can be a prick sometimes. I can be this and that, yes. But I'll look at the positive of life. And so what I mean by that, I don't let things in life make me who I am. If a situation arises, that doesn't make me who I am. If somebody calls me a name, that doesn't make me who I am. I know who I am, for one, by God, and then also I tell myself who I am. Yes, you might call me arrogant, you might call me conceited, but I've learned over the years of the pains that I've had to go through, from being homeless to this and that, to being a drug addict and this and that, to learn how not to be so down and out on myself. All right? So let's move on. So that thou incline thy ear unto wisdom and apply thy heart to understanding. What does it mean? So thou incline thy ear unto wisdom and apply thy heart to understanding. Again, let's go back to verse 1. My son, if thou wilt receive my words and hide my commandments with thee, So that thy incline thy ear unto wisdom. What does it mean to incline thy ear unto wisdom? It means pull close, right? You want to get close with that. And apply thy heart to understanding. What does it mean to apply something? It means put your heart in it. Put your heart into understanding what's going on. Then it also says, yea, verse 3, yea, if thou wilt cry after knowledge and lift up the voice for understanding, he's saying come after it. When you say, when you're talking about crying after knowledge, what does that mean? What does a little kid do when he really wants something? He cries, right? He'll let you know. If you're at a gas station, the kid's gonna, hey daddy, hey mama, what's he gonna do? He's gonna pull and tug on you, and he's gonna cry until he gets that sucker or that bag of candy, right? Or that drink. Why? Because he looks upon you and knows you're the source of everything he has to have. And so he's already taught this from an early age. So what does he do? He cries under that. He doesn't understand his knowledge at that time. Obviously, if you're a little toddler, you don't know what knowledge is. But he does know this. The examples of his life have been teaching him that if I ask my dad or my mom something, and if I kind of throw a little fit, I get a little bit more, right? So that's what kids do. And he lifted up that voice for understanding. What are you doing? Not just crying, but you're raising your voice. You know, if you're stuck in a situation, I don't know about you, but like, and I've been very aggravated, I might have just screamed like, ah, because I've been ticked off about something, right? Same thing with you. You get really passionate about something, you scream, you holler, right? If you want your kids to take out the trash and you've told them 4 times, you finally say, all right, get the trash out, right? So what does that mean? So when you actually raise that voice up and you're crying after knowledge, you're showing God that you're really accepting the fact that he knows more than you and that he wants you to get to a point where you're going after whatever he says in his word for you to do. We don't have to live underneath the struggle of life that tells us that we can't have anything. We can't be successful. We can't ever do anything. I've learned a long time ago, I was 20-something years old, I learned that I didn't have to necessarily work for somebody else. I started my own business when I was 21 years old. Who does that? Somebody that's worked for somebody for a few years. Yeah, I worked for other people and this and that, but I had this instinct inside of me that nobody's gonna be my boss. Nobody's gonna control anything I do in life. When I was homeless and I was young and all this and that, I got to a point where in my life, I didn't want to have to rely on anybody else, because when I had to rely on my own family, my own kids, that whatever the situation was, or not my own kids, but my own family, what did I do? I ended up failing because they were failures in a lot of stuff. They didn't allow me to have a home. They didn't give me the example of how it was not to be in a home with drug addicts and drunks, right? They didn't give me the examples I was supposed to have. So something inside of me made me thrive for greatness. Something inside of me made me thrive for being wealthy, right? And so I took what God said, and I ended up finding the Lord around 20-something years old, about the same time I kind of got out on my own and started for myself. And I started read the Word. I started getting into it, started diving into it, and started understanding that there was a lot more in this life that I could have, that people told me I was never going to amount to this. But I knew inside of me, once I got of age, I'll take care of myself, right? And that's a struggle for some people. Some people, 40, 50 years old, you might be a 40 or 50-year-old sitting at the house. Still, waiting on mom to help you and dad to help you, stuck in the basement. I mean, I understand if you went through a divorce, you're doing this, that, and you're struggling, you just lost your job, whatever, something might have tragic happen. But get out of the house. Like, take care of yourself. I mean, most of our problem in the government right now is they want to hand you everything and make you do nothing. Why are you going to sit there in that place and expect $300 a week from the government when you could go out and make $1,000? Don't you feel some kind of self-pride in wanting to be something in society besides a bum? Yeah, I said that harshly, but wake up. I mean, if you're sitting there still babying yourself because you can't, get to a point where you can't get out of the house because you're scared of the dark, I mean, give me a break. I mean, how old are you? It's just reality. The reality of God's Word is that too. He doesn't want you to stay a 5-year-old baby and cry about everything in life. He wants you to wake up, and grow some gnars, But I'm going to get back into verse 5. I'm sorry, I have to laugh at that. I can't help it. I'm just real. I'm honest about it. I mean, I can't stand crybaby stuff. And if you're there, that's okay. That's okay for a season. That's okay for a season. But All I'm saying is, let's dive into the Word. Let's dive into the greatness of who we are. God didn't create you to be a bum. God didn't create you to sit on the side of the road and hold a sign up and ask for money. No, He created you to be successful. He created you to be a king of your lordship. You're Lord of your own self. You got to learn this stuff.